Have you ever wondered why some men seem to quietly watch, waiting for the smallest reaction, as if they're looking for something you can't quite see? It can feel unsettling, almost like an unspoken game is being played. But what if I told you it's not always a game at all? It's a search for truth. Men who are genuinely interested in a woman often test her, not to hurt her, but to reveal who she really is when the mask comes off. Because anyone can act loving, patient, and kind when things are easy. The real question is, what happens when the moment becomes uncomfortable? When the pressure rises, when emotions try to take over? That is where the truth lives. The reality is, these tests are not always obvious. They might not even be deliberate. Sometimes they're instinctive, born from a deep human need to protect oneself from pain, disappointment, and betrayal. A man who is serious about building something meaningful wants to know if the woman he's drawn to is someone he can trust with his heart, his dreams, and his vulnerabilities. Words alone cannot answer that question. Promises and sweet gestures can be faked. But reactions, real, raw, unfiltered, those are hard to hide. This is why the moments that seem small to you may mean everything to him. The way you respond when plans change at the last minute. How you handle a misunderstanding without turning it into a battlefield. The tone you use when you're frustrated. These details speak louder than any romantic declaration ever could. They reveal your emotional stability, your self-control, and your ability to create a safe emotional space. And make no mistake, emotional safety is one of the most powerful forces that draw a man closer. If this makes you feel pressure, understand this. The goal is not to perform or pretend to be someone you're not. The goal is to be so deeply grounded in your own worth that you pass these tests without even trying. That's the secret. When your value doesn't depend on his approval, you naturally exude the confidence and composure he's searching for. A man can sense when you are whole within yourself, when you are strong enough to stand on your own but open enough to let him in. And here's the emotional reward for mastering this truth. When you consistently show him that you are genuine, steady, and unshaken by small storms, you become unforgettable. Not because you played the game better, but because you didn't play at all. You simply lived in your truth. That is magnetic. That is rare. And that is why, if you truly understand the hidden nature of these tests, you'll stop fearing them. You'll start seeing them for what they are, not obstacles, but opportunities to let your inner strength shine so brightly that the right man never questions what he's found. A man's tests are often rooted in a deep instinct to measure trust, loyalty, and resilience. He is not just seeing how you act when everything is perfect. He is watching how you carry yourself when comfort is stripped away. This is why words will never be enough. Promises can be made in seconds, but true character is revealed over time. Through moments that challenge your patience, your composure, and your ability to hold your dignity no matter what. A man who is serious about you is looking beyond the surface. He wants to know if you are the same person when the lights are off, when the attention fades, and when life is not offering its best face. The psychology behind this is simple yet profound. Human beings are wired to seek security in their relationships. And for men, security is not only physical, it is emotional and psychological. If he is going to let his guard down, he must know that the woman beside him will not use his vulnerabilities against him. He must feel that his trust will not become a weapon in moments of anger or disappointment. These tests, whether conscious or subconscious, are his way of answering one question: will she be my peace or will she be my storm? Every interaction becomes part of his assessment. The way you respond to a joke that falls flat, the way you handle being misunderstood, the patience you show when he is under stress. These are not insignificant moments. They are signals, clear, undeniable signals that tell him whether your presence brings stability or chaos. Men respect women who carry an inner calm, not because life is always calm, but because they have mastered the discipline of their own emotions. This discipline is magnetic. It tells him you are not ruled by fleeting feelings. It shows him you have the strength to stand steady even when waves crash around you. And in a world where so many people react without thinking, this kind of stability is rare. It is why certain women remain unforgettable long after the initial attraction fades. Their strength is not loud, but it is unshakable. You must understand that passing these tests is not about perfection. You do not need to be flawless. You only need to be authentic, centered, and unafraid to let your true values guide your actions. When you live from that place, you stop worrying about whether you are being tested. You know that whatever the test is, your truth will carry you through it. And that is the ultimate position of power. Not to try to impress, but to simply be so deeply rooted in who you are that no test can make you compromise your worth. That is what captures a man's respect and keeps it. One of the most revealing things a man will notice is how you protect your own boundaries. He may not say it out loud, but he is watching to see if you stand firm when something doesn't feel right, or if you let his charm or persistence override your limits. This is not about being difficult or cold. It is about showing that you value yourself enough to say no when you need to, even if saying no risks his approval. A man who is genuinely looking for a woman to respect will never admire someone who sacrifices her values just to keep him happy. Boundaries are not walls that shut people out. They are the lines that keep respect alive. The moment you bend too far for someone's comfort at the cost of your own peace, you teach them how far they can push you. Men instinctively test this, sometimes without realizing it, because they need to see if your standards are just words or if they are truly lived. If you abandon your principles under pressure, you show that they were never truly yours. But when you hold your ground calmly and without hostility, you communicate something powerful. You are not afraid to lose someone who cannot honor the space you need. That is strength. That is what earns lasting respect. This kind of self-respect doesn't come from ego. It comes from knowing your worth without needing someone else to confirm it. When you have it, you don't chase validation because you already live in it. You don't allow small moments of pressure to make you abandon your values, because you understand that the right person will never ask you to. And a man who is truly seeking a strong partner will not just accept your boundaries, he will be drawn to them. They tell him you are confident enough to protect your own energy, and wise enough to know that love without respect is nothing. Every time you honor your limits, you give him a clear answer to the silent question he is asking. Will she lose herself to keep me, or will she remain herself and trust that what is right will stay? This answer matters more than you think. It defines how he will treat you, how much he will invest, and how he will see you in the long term. Passing this test is not about resistance for its own sake. It is about alignment, choosing to live in a way that reflects your deepest values no matter who is watching. When you do this consistently, you don't just pass his test, you set the standard for how love should be, and the man who is worthy of you will rise to meet it. A man will also notice whether you carry your own sense of completeness or if you depend entirely on him to feel whole. This is one of the quietest yet most decisive tests, because neediness has a way of draining respect and attraction faster than almost anything else. When your happiness, self-esteem, and sense of identity hinge on his constant attention, you place an invisible burden on him. It shifts the relationship from a space of mutual choice to a space of emotional obligation, and no man will thrive under the weight of that. What draws him in is not the thought of being your source of worth, but the experience of joining his life with a woman who already knows her value. Independence in this sense is not about rejecting closeness or pretending you don't need connection. It is about building a life so fulfilling on your own that love becomes an addition, not a rescue. When you have passions, goals, and joy that exist outside of him, you create a magnetic balance. He feels your presence as a gift, not a demand. You bring energy into the relationship instead of constantly taking from it, and that is the kind of energy that keeps attraction alive for years. This is why men sometimes test by pulling back their attention or giving you space. It's not always a conscious decision. It can be an instinct to see whether you will unravel without constant reassurance. If you respond with panic, insecurity, or a desperate need to pull him back, you communicate that your sense of self is fragile. But if you remain steady, warm, and engaged in your own life, you show him that your happiness does not live or die by his actions. That stability is rare, and it commands deep respect. Your independence also sends another powerful message. You choose him, you do not cling to him. That choice is far more valuable than dependence, because it tells him that you are there out of desire, not fear of being alone. This creates a foundation of trust, because he knows you will not stay just to avoid loneliness. You will stay because the connection is worth it. That knowledge makes him cherish you more. The truth is, a man wants to feel wanted, not needed in a way that erases his freedom or burdens his spirit. When you show him that you are whole on your own, yet open to sharing your life, you strike the perfect balance. You are free, but you choose to give. You are independent, yet you make space for intimacy. And when he sees that, the question shifts from whether you can handle life without him to whether he can imagine his life without you. Another subtle but powerful way men measure a woman's depth is by observing how she reacts when they do not give immediate responses or constant reassurance. Life is not a continuous stream of attention, and a man who is truly invested in finding the right partner will notice whether you can remain composed in moments of delay. When he takes longer to reply, when he is occupied with his responsibilities, or when his focus shifts temporarily, he is silently watching to see if your sense of security holds, or if it crumbles under the weight of uncertainty. The reaction in those moments reveals far more than words ever could. If you meet the delay with anger, suspicion, or passive aggression, you are telling him that your peace depends entirely on his constant validation. But if you remain calm, understanding, and anchored in your own life, you are showing him that you trust not only him, but yourself. That trust is magnetic because it removes the constant pressure to prove his commitment every moment of the day. It tells him that you are strong enough to allow space without letting fear rewrite the story in your head. This kind of composure is rare, because insecurity often demands instant reassurance. But a man seeking a woman of strength is not looking for someone who needs to be soothed every time life interrupts his attention. He is looking for a partner who understands that his worth to her is not measured in the speed of his replies, but in the consistency of his actions over time. That perspective is what separates fleeting attraction from enduring respect. When you can hold your peace during these pauses, you communicate something profound. You are not here to chase, to demand, or to beg for attention. You are here to share a connection that thrives on mutual respect, not constant proof. That removes the fear that time apart will weaken the bond, and instead replaces it with the confidence that space will only strengthen it. A man who senses this steadiness begins to see you as someone who will not be shaken by every small change in rhythm. He realizes that you are not dependent on constant access to feel loved, and that makes your presence more valuable to him. It shifts the dynamic from one of pressure to one of freedom, where he can give you his best without feeling controlled or tested himself. The truth is, a woman who can stand gracefully in moments of distance creates a lasting impression. She shows that love is not about possession, but about trust. She proves that her peace is her own, and that she will not allow temporary silence to destroy the foundation she has built. That kind of strength is not just noticed, it is deeply respected. Men also pay close attention to how a woman responds when jealousy triggers arise. These moments are powerful indicators of self-assurance or insecurity, and they often happen without warning. It might be a casual mention of another woman, a friendly interaction he has in your presence, or a situation where you are not the sole focus of his attention. In those moments, he is not looking to provoke you. He is observing the depth of your confidence. When jealousy takes control, it clouds judgment and distorts reality. It turns neutral situations into imagined threats, and instead of drawing two people closer, it creates a wall of suspicion. A man who is serious about building something real will notice if you can rise above that impulse. If you remain calm, if you respond with trust instead of accusation, you show him that your sense of worth does not depend on eliminating all possible competition. You demonstrate that you believe in your own value enough to know it cannot be replaced by someone else's presence. This does not mean ignoring clear disrespect or allowing someone to overstep boundaries. It means knowing the difference between a genuine threat and a harmless interaction. It means choosing not to interpret every glance, every name, every conversation as a challenge to your place in his life. That restraint is not weakness, it is strength. It signals emotional maturity, self-control, and a powerful awareness that the bond you share cannot be shaken by small, meaningless tests of attention. When you handle these moments with grace, you change the dynamic entirely. Instead of creating tension that forces him into defense, you create an atmosphere where he feels trusted and respected. That trust inspires loyalty. It makes him want to protect what you share because he knows you are not quick to doubt it. And in turn, he becomes more intentional about ensuring you feel secure. The truth is, jealousy is often less about another person and more about our own fears. When you master those fears, you stop reacting from a place of insecurity and start responding from a place of strength. A man can feel the difference immediately. He senses that you are not competing for his attention. You are offering something far more compelling: peace, stability, and unwavering belief in your own worth. This kind of confidence cannot be faked. It is built from knowing who you are, what you bring, and what you will not tolerate. It is the quiet certainty that if you are truly valued, you will never need to fight for your place. And when a man sees that certainty in you, it not only passes his unspoken test, it makes him realize you are in a league that very few can ever reach. A man will also take note of how you respond when money and material opportunities are placed before you. This is not always about grand gestures or lavish tests. Sometimes it is as subtle as offering something expensive to see your reaction, or observing how you speak about wealth and possessions. He is quietly measuring whether your interest in him is rooted in who he is or in what he can provide. For many men, this is not about being unwilling to give. It is about wanting to know that what you value most cannot be bought. When your eyes light up more for the lifestyle than for the man himself, the message is clear. Attraction fades quickly when it feels conditional on material gain. But when you show that you appreciate his efforts and generosity without being consumed by them, you send a powerful signal. You reveal that your loyalty and affection are not for sale. This doesn't mean rejecting gifts or avoiding comfort. It means those things are secondary to the connection you share, not the foundation of it. A man who is building a future wants to know that the person beside him will stand firm in seasons when abundance may not be present. He wants the peace of knowing you will not disappear when the financial highs dip into lows. He wants to feel that he can trust you with both the victories and the struggles. That trust is not built through words, but through consistent proof that your respect for him is not dependent on the size of his bank account. When you prioritize shared values over material temptation, you give him a kind of security that money cannot buy. You show him that your commitment is rooted in mutual growth, shared purpose, and genuine connection. This makes you not only attractive, but irreplaceable. A man can find someone impressed by what he can buy almost anywhere. What he cannot easily find is a woman who sees beyond the surface and values the substance of who he is. This level of integrity requires clarity within yourself. You must know what truly matters to you, and be unwilling to trade it for fleeting comfort. When your presence in his life is motivated by respect, care, and emotional connection, he feels safe to invest more deeply. That safety makes him want to give freely, not because you demand it, but because he knows you value the giver more than the gift. Passing this test is not about pretending you don't appreciate what he offers. It is about making it clear that your loyalty is not a transaction. It is a choice, one you make because of the man he is, not the things he can provide. And when he realizes that, you become the standard he measures everyone else against. A man will pay close attention to the way you speak about other people, especially when they are not around to defend themselves. This may seem insignificant, but it reveals more about your character than you might realize. The words you choose, the tone you use, and the fairness you display in those moments tell him whether you are a person who uplifts or a person who tears down. He is not only listening to what you say about others, he is imagining what you might say about him if things were to change. When your conversations are filled with negativity, gossip, or criticism, it creates a sense of mistrust. It suggests that you might treat him the same way in his absence. But when you speak with respect, even about those who have wronged you, you show discipline, emotional control, and a refusal to let bitterness dictate your voice. This kind of restraint is rare, and it leaves a lasting impression. It communicates that you are not careless with people's reputations and that your loyalty is not conditional on perfection. Choosing to speak with integrity does not mean avoiding honesty. It means delivering truth without venom. It means expressing your feelings without turning someone else's flaws into entertainment. It is the mark of a person who understands that words have power and that respect given to others reflects the respect you hold for yourself. A man who values depth and authenticity will notice if you carry this awareness. It makes him trust you more, because it assures him that his own vulnerabilities will be safe with you. The ability to avoid unnecessary negativity also speaks to your emotional maturity. It shows that you do not need to bring others down to lift yourself up. It tells him that your confidence is strong enough to stand on its own, without leaning on comparison or judgment. This creates an atmosphere of safety, one where he feels free to share his thoughts and weaknesses without fear that they will become ammunition later. Every time you choose discretion over gossip, kindness over ridicule, and fairness over exaggeration, you are answering another one of his silent questions. Can I trust her with my name, my flaws, and my truth? That trust is the foundation of any relationship that lasts. Without it, everything else eventually collapses. With it, connection deepens and loyalty grows stronger. When a man sees that you protect people's dignity even when it would be easy to destroy it, you become more than just attractive. You become a person of rare value. You show that your strength lies not only in what you achieve, but in what you choose to hold back. And in his eyes, that restraint is not weakness, it is the clearest sign of strength. What you choose to tolerate in your life tells a man more about you than what you openly reject. Every time you allow disrespect, inconsistency, or dishonesty to remain unchecked, you are silently teaching him how to treat you. People do not rise to the level of your hopes. They fall to the level of your standards. A man is always watching whether you enforce those standards with quiet strength or whether you compromise them out of fear of losing him. When you hold firm, you communicate that you value yourself enough to walk away from anything that does not honor you. Your boundaries are not walls meant to push people away. They are gates meant to protect the value you have built within yourself. They show that you will not allow temporary emotions to override long-term respect. A man will notice whether you bend those boundaries every time affection or desire enters the room. If you do, he learns that he only needs to apply enough charm or pressure to get what he wants. But if you stay consistent, even when it costs you comfort, you send an unshakable message. You will not be swayed by flattery, attention, or momentary validation. Consistency in boundaries builds trust because it shows that you are governed by principle, not impulse. This steadiness draws a different kind of respect, the kind that makes a man careful with his actions because he knows you will not overlook what matters. It changes the way he approaches you. He becomes more intentional, more thoughtful, because he knows you will not entertain anything less. And when a man sees that you will not lower your standards just to keep him, it forces him to rise to meet them if he wants to stay. The strength of your boundaries also reveals how deeply you understand your worth. When you protect your peace, your time, and your heart, you signal that you know they are precious. This is not about arrogance, it is about self-awareness. A man who recognizes this will understand that you cannot be bought with empty promises or shallow gestures. He will see that keeping you requires depth, effort, and integrity. When you let go of the fear that setting boundaries will push someone away, you begin to attract only those who are willing to respect them. This shift is powerful because it filters out those who seek to take advantage and draws in those who value what you protect. The way you honor yourself teaches others to honor you. A man who sees unwavering boundaries understands he is dealing with someone rare. You become not just a partner but a standard he must match. And in a world full of compromises, that kind of strength is unforgettable. A woman who truly understands her value does not seek to prove it through words. She allows her presence to speak for her. She does not chase after explanations, force understanding, or plead for recognition. She knows that the right man will not need constant convincing of her worth because her actions, her composure, and her standards already make it clear. This quiet confidence is magnetic because it leaves no room for doubt. It creates an unspoken challenge that only those with genuine strength and intention will rise to meet. When you stop trying to control how someone perceives you, you reclaim your energy from the exhausting work of seeking approval. That energy then radiates inward, making you more grounded, more secure, and more selective. This is when a man begins to realize that you are not operating from a place of scarcity, but from abundance. You are not afraid to walk away because you know what you bring to the table is not easily replaced. This shifts the dynamic entirely, putting you in the position of choosing rather than waiting to be chosen. Self-respect in its purest form is unshakable. It is the ability to stand alone without shrinking, to refuse to settle without bitterness, and to believe in your own worth without arrogance. This type of strength is not loud, yet it commands attention. Men who encounter it quickly recognize that they cannot approach you with half-hearted effort. They either come with clarity and intention, or they do not come at all. The way you carry yourself shapes the way others treat you long before you ever speak. Every subtle action, how you respond to disrespect, how you invest your time, how you handle conflict, writes a silent story about who you are. When your behavior consistently aligns with your values, you create an unshakable image of integrity. A man will not gamble with losing someone whose actions always match her words because he knows her loyalty is rare and her trust is not easily regained once broken. Remaining calm under pressure is another form of power that deeply impacts how a man sees you. It shows that you are not reactive, that you do not hand over control of your emotions to someone else. Emotional stability is one of the greatest signs of inner strength because it demonstrates mastery over yourself. It tells him you are not easily swayed by manipulation, provocation, or fleeting emotions. A woman who masters the art of quiet strength, unwavering boundaries, and self-respect does not have to demand respect. It is given to her naturally. She becomes unforgettable not because she tries to be, but because she embodies the kind of presence that is impossible to ignore. In this way, her worth is never questioned, because it has already been proven in the way she lives. A woman who understands her power does not engage in the games of insecurity or desperation. She is not tempted to prove herself through excessive giving, over-explaining, or bending her principles to be accepted. She knows that when she compromises her values for temporary affection, she ultimately loses both her self-respect and the respect of others. Instead, she operates from a deep sense of certainty that her presence is already a gift, and she will not place it in the hands of someone who cannot see its value. This level of self-control commands admiration because it is so rare. When you detach from the need to be validated, you create space for people to approach you with authenticity. You no longer accept shallow promises or inconsistent actions because you are attuned to what truly matters. This unspoken filter pushes away those who cannot meet your standard and draws closer those who can. It is not about building walls to keep people out. It is about having gates that only open for those who bring truth, respect, and consistency. This is how a woman protects her peace without losing her warmth. There is a quiet strength in the way she responds to situations meant to shake her. She does not erupt in chaos when faced with disappointment. She does not give the satisfaction of seeing her unravel. Instead, she pauses, she assesses, and she chooses her words and actions with intention. This composure makes her unforgettable because it is the opposite of what most expect in moments of tension. It leaves a man questioning how to win her back if he has caused her to withdraw, and it makes him realize that losing her is a risk he cannot afford. Boundaries become her silent language of self-worth. They are not ultimatums or threats. They are the natural expression of someone who knows what they will and will not allow. She does not feel the need to justify them because she understands that those who respect her will never need lengthy explanations. Every time she enforces a boundary, she reinforces the message that her value is non-negotiable. This is how she creates relationships rooted in respect rather than control. Her confidence is not the kind that shouts. It is the kind that moves with calm certainty. She does not need to be the loudest in the room to be noticed. She does not chase attention because she understands that genuine connection is not built on performance, but on presence. In her stillness, she communicates more than most can in 1,000 words. A man who experiences this knows she is not like anyone else, and it leaves an imprint that time cannot erase. This is the essence of true strength, a presence that inspires, a heart that remains pure, and a standard that never lowers itself to be understood. A woman who embodies true self-worth moves through life with an energy that cannot be imitated. She does not cling to what is fading, nor does she fear what is ending. She understands that anything leaving her life is making space for something better. This unshakable faith in her own path allows her to remain grounded, even in moments where others would break. She refuses to beg for love, attention, or commitment, because she knows that the love meant for her will not require her to lose herself in the process of keeping it. Her detachment from desperation is not coldness, it is clarity. When she speaks, her words carry weight because they are chosen, not scattered. She does not waste her voice on convincing someone to see her value. She knows that those who are truly aligned with her will recognize it without being told. This level of self-possession shifts the dynamics in every relationship she enters. She no longer measures her worth by the reactions of others, and this independence makes her magnetic. People are drawn to her without fully understanding why, sensing the rare freedom in a woman who does not need to be completed by anyone. She moves with grace in situations that could easily provoke anger or insecurity. Instead of reacting impulsively, she lets silence speak for her. That silence is not emptiness, it is a mirror that forces others to confront their own actions. In that stillness, she regains control of the narrative, choosing how and when she will engage. This emotional discipline is power in its purest form because it protects her energy while demanding accountability without ever having to plead for it. Every choice she makes is a reflection of her standards. She will not lower them to fit into someone else's comfort zone because she understands that lowering them is the fastest way to lose respect, both from others and from herself. The man who meets her knows instinctively that her attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. This keeps him alert, aware, and invested, because he understands she will never hesitate to walk away if she feels undervalued. Her boundaries are not up for debate. They are the framework of the life she is building. Her confidence radiates not through constant self-display, but through the peace she carries within. She does not measure herself against other women, because she understands that her uniqueness is her advantage. She does not compete for a place in someone's life. She allows her presence to be the reason they fight to keep her in theirs. In her authenticity, she becomes unforgettable. She leaves a mark not through force, but through the undeniable power of knowing exactly who she is and never apologizing for it. This is the kind of strength that cannot be taken, only respected. A woman who truly understands her worth does not fear solitude, because she knows that solitude is where her strength sharpens. She sees alone time not as a void, but as a sanctuary where her mind becomes clear, her emotions settle, and her spirit recalibrates. In this space, she is reminded that she is her own foundation and no one has the power to shake it unless she grants them permission. Her self-sufficiency is not about closing herself off from the world. It is about ensuring that she is never dependent on it for her happiness. This independence becomes a quiet force that others cannot help but respect. She does not chase approval or validation because she knows both are fleeting and unreliable. Instead, she operates from an internal compass, guided by values that are unshakable no matter the circumstances. This inner alignment means that her decisions are not swayed by trends, opinions, or pressure. People may misunderstand her, but they cannot move her from her path. This resilience sets her apart, because in a world where so many compromise to be liked, she dares to stand firm to be respected. Her presence changes the energy of any space she enters, not because she demands attention, but because she carries herself with a calm certainty. She does not have to prove that she belongs. Her demeanor says it for her. This subtle confidence disarms those who underestimate her and challenges those who think they can take her for granted. She knows that real power is not in being loud, but in being unshakable. And when she does choose to speak, her words cut through the noise because they come from a place of truth and intention. She invests her time and energy with precision. She understands that every interaction leaves an imprint, and she refuses to give pieces of herself to situations or people that diminish her light. Her boundaries are not walls to keep others out. They are gates that allow only what is worthy to enter. Those who are allowed close to her know they are in rare company, and that awareness inspires them to rise to her level rather than pull her down to theirs. She recognizes that love, respect, and loyalty are earned, not begged for. She does not settle for lukewarm affection or half-hearted effort, because she knows that doing so would only teach others that she will accept less than she deserves. Her life is a reflection of her standards, and those standards act as a filter, allowing only the best to remain. She is not afraid to walk away from what no longer serves her, even if it means walking alone for a season. For she knows that a woman who values herself is never truly alone. She is always surrounded by the power of her own presence, and that is enough to keep her whole. A woman who understands her value moves with an energy that is impossible to imitate. She does not rush her steps because she knows that nothing meant for her can be taken away, and nothing unworthy of her will last. This calm assurance radiates in everything she does, making it clear that her worth is not negotiable. She has learned that desperation repels what she desires, while patience and self-respect draw it in effortlessly. She knows that life mirrors the energy she gives, so she never sends out signals of neediness or lack, only those of abundance, certainty, and inner power. Her silence holds weight because it is intentional. She does not waste words trying to convince others of her value. She allows her actions, her boundaries, and